Move on to Victor Wembanyama, who is doing unreal shit to start this NBA season, including a 38-10 game as his San Antonio Spurs beat the Suns, who obviously have some injuries right now, but he was incredible in that game. He was downright dominant in that game. And Brendon, you saw him in person twice. You got to see him two on Halloween and then on November 2nd in Phoenix in your backyard. So let's start there. He did a ton of stuff in these two games. The putback dunk, the whole performance in the second game. There's just so much stuff here where it's radiating off the TV, and what he is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
When you look at this, how did that pop in person versus what it looked like for everyone else on television?
In person, I think I was struck by the way that the arena became terrified of him in real time in a way that I don't think they were expecting. Because, look, the reality is with this guy, and I think it's going to be, it might even extend beyond his rookie season this year, is the crotchety old media types and or fans just don't buy it. I don't know how else to put it, but people are telling me after the second game going into the after the first game going into the second game, that he's not really a scorer. So don't guard him like he is, whatever. And then game 2, what does he do? They run horns, they run double drag, they run simple pick and roll, and Vic gets a switch, and maybe 4 or 5 separate times he just annihilates what the Suns are doing to them defensively. And the reason I bring that up first and foremost, as the crowd just realized what a terror they were watching, is that I don't know if the Suns coaching staff approached it like he was a scorer either.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't give up a switch where Grayson Allen or Eric Gordon or Devin Booker is forced to fight against a 7'4" alien 4 feet from the basket if you think that person can score on that. And they did not adjust quickly enough until basically he came back in the fourth quarter. But then what does this dude do? Because he's an absolute freak, is end of the third quarter buzzer, walks into a pull-up 3 from the left wing, starts jamming lobs on people's heads once the post-ups aren't necessarily there anymore, and you realize, oh, you actually can't defend that either. Not to mention the defense, not to mention anything else. And so I just honestly, I don't even know if it was it being in person or just the fact that I got to see probably his 2 most impactful winning performances so far. But to me, it was just a reminder or a realization, or like the first time we've really been presented with the facts that when he is in rhythm, being utilized correctly, finding ways to get involved, which will come and go as a rookie, there's no way to stop him. And the fact that it was week 2 of his NBA career and we're already being kind of like confronted with that was the crazy thing to me. I just never thought we would see winning basketball with this dude driving it against good teams this fast.
The scoring part of it, to me, Brendon, is the part of it that I think has caught me off guard more than anything else. Just that he has tools he likes to go to. Like, he has things he likes to do already that he's pretty comfortable with. He has a confidence in him that is pretty rare for someone his age or even in their first couple years in the league. Like, it is genuinely separating. And he's not even doing it, by drawing a lot of fouls. Like, he took 6 free throws in the game. He had 38. It's not like this was like he was getting to the line a lot and it was like 10 to 15 from the
because
line.
I'm not sure fouling him stops him from making shots.
No, and it's also just...
That's the crazy part of it is, like, what are you going to do? Slap him, like, on his rib cage? Because that's as high up as you can reach, and then his hands are 8 feet above that, and he's already dunking on you, and now you're just giving him an and one? Like, fouling almost doesn't matter unless it's, like, another center. But when you have a mismatch, Where is Grayson Allen going to foul Victor Wembanyama? On his hip?
Well, that's right. It's like if it's like you're giving up a switch to someone like Grayson Allen, if you're Phoenix and you're saying we're going to do this, you're committing to a very certain structure defensively. And I want to see this now. Like, okay, we talk about PJ Tucker, that kind of 4 or that kind of 5 who's shorter and stockier, but definitely stronger than Vic at this point in his career. How he handles that and what that looks like, I think will be really interesting and tell us something else. But he's just going up and getting himself, and he's taking threes. I mean, he's taken 5 or more threes, including 6 3 times in 4 of the 5 games. Like, he's out here shooting threes at a pretty significant clip, just letting them fly, and that in itself is pretty
But that's
wild.
what we expected, right? You have a note in here that he is faster than you expected. What do you mean by that? Because I hadn't thought about it that way.
I think he runs faster than I would have expected. I think he just moves faster up and down the court and around faster than I think someone his size should, and faster than I was expecting based on what we watched from. Like, yes, the 3 stuff, I expected him to shoot threes. I don't know if I expected him just to let him fly the way he has, right? And like be pretty confident, even though he had like an 0-8 run. But the speed thing, he's moving around and going at things and playing with an intensity on top of, I think, just looking physically faster that I don't think was always there in some of the tape. I mean, the putback dunk, the dunk he had on poor Drew Eubanks was just like assertive and monstrous. And you see him just gliding up and down the court, and it's like, I don't know what you're supposed to do with this. I don't know. I don't know how, if you're an opposing team, you credibly have like a plan for some of this. Like, it doesn't seem to fit a box. Like, there are players in this league, Brendon, and you can run through the list. I think LeBron is on that list. I think Jokic is on that list. Giannis, go down the list. There's a bunch of guys I'm not naming. Curry, I think, is on that list. That
what list?
I think the list of guys that I think are great, and you just certainly cannot game plan for them in a real way. Like, you can have a game plan, but are you really going to stop them? The answer is no. Like, ultimately, it's can you get enough stops on this guy and make his life hard enough where they're not destroying you in a given night. There's a list, there's a category of guys on the offensive end and skill-wise that get there. It's not a huge list, but it's a lot of the guys you would think of, and it's the very, very best. The first couple games make me think Wembanyama is just already kind of inching towards, even if he's not at that peak efficiency yet in the same way, he's already kind of there in terms of what he does and how annoying and frustrating it must be for defenses. Dude, like, yes, like switching if you're Phoenix. I get it. You try to do it. He's smaller. You say, we can try this, make him beat us over the top. Well, he's doing that. So now, coming up their next 5-10 games, our team's going to try different stuff. Are they going to come up with Victor Wembanyama rules of some kind? Like, we're already kind of trending in that direction with him based on these first couple games.
It is impressive to see how quickly he has adjusted his game at every point in time. And people who know about the draft and scouted this guy when he was even younger than last year they always say, like, the reason he was some sort of marvel at the time that they first saw him, maybe pre-fibula injury that he had in December 2020, is, okay, like, he has a little bit of skill. He has the makings of somebody who could hit some jumpers, dribble, handle. Okay, interesting. Like, let's put a pin in that guy because he's only 15, 16 and already is resembling a player who would be game-changing. And the quickness with which he became that guy, I don't think anybody saw coming. And last year, the guy went to the French League team that he went to. You remember it was back and forth between one or the other. He ends up going to the one that I think fewer people would have expected because it was worse than the other. But we knew he could get playing time. They basically built, you can read Brian Windhorst and everybody else that's written about this guy. They catered a franchise to him. And it wasn't worse. They went to the finals. But if you watched those games, if you watched him in the French League, he was posting up. He was operating as kind of a dump it in And honestly, a lot of the time, more of a playmaker. Like he sort of was looking to pass first a lot of the time as an offensive guy because they had decent guards and they had Koulibaly and they could score in transition well. And if you could just defend and then finish as an offensive guy, you didn't see him taking a lot of threes and whatever. Now he gets to the NBA. We saw him, basically it took him one summer league game to adjust to what the style of this sport or this league was going to be, and he just adjusted. And I do think one of the things that did pop out to me in person is the feel. So you're talking about there not being answers, right? It's like, okay, you switch, that's clearly not going to work as long as he's comfortable and the guy is not somebody like Nikola Jokic or something. Outside of those types of huge dudes, I don't know who's going to get him off his spots or really make him uncomfortable, even as a rookie. Okay, he can make jumpers, shoot jumpers. He's confident with that. But there were moments where, whether it was in the post or the short roll, that he would get a pass delivered to him, and he's making these, like, honestly, I hate to clown Joel Embiid with a little bit of a drive-by insult here, but you compare the passes that Wemby makes, Vic makes, on the kind of like slap hit to the teammate, like he's playing handball or volleyball or something, to whatever Joel Embiid tried to do on opening night with that ugly turnover that he had. And that jumps out as well. He's already aware of the attention that he's getting and the gravity that's sucking onto him from the defense, and he's finding the right teammate. It's crazy.
He might already be better than I think we could have expected, and I just feel like we just might be headed towards something in real time that just feels mammoth. Let me ask you one other question about the in-person part of this, Brendon. How did the crowd
It sounds like
react
he's
to
boring you. Are the Browns distracting you, Chris? Get excited about Victor Wembanyama, please.
Here's the thing where I'm at with Vic.
Your voice has not risen above the decibel of like 5. You're saying he's doing something we've never seen. You watched him. I was there, but come on, this dude's freaking. He's 19.
I'm staring at his basketball reference page right now, and just like looking through the numbers. I've been looking at his Kleen in the glass page, and it just. Mm-hmm. And you watch the clips and they don't make sense. Like, this doesn't make sense. There are players in this league that can do things that confound you, that baffle you in good ways, that like they don't make sense, and their body types don't make sense. He's already just kind of doing that in a way that I haven't fully wrapped. I think where I'm at, Brendon, is I haven't fully wrapped my mind around this. I have not fully had it like click into place that this is just here and he's real and this isn't just like a simulation in front of me a little bit. That is where I'm at with it. Because he does things that I just like. I thought we were in our lifetime the athletic marvels that would break the game for us were like LeBron and Giannis, right? And then like you have different versions of that, and with Curry and what he does and what Jokic does and all of that stuff. This is like we have a new species of basketball player who is like the apex predator of an entire generation, that has just kind of morphed his way into the fold in front of us. And I don't understand what teams are supposed to do about that. I don't understand, like, I don't even, like, even from, like, the Spurs perspective, I would be so stressed out trying to figure out how to actually, like, figure this out in real time and, like, maximize
and how good they can be, right?
Yeah,
are we a playoff team? Are we going to be the 10 seed, or is this just going to come and go and it'll be up and down because he's a rookie? Like, I don't know. Should they be, like, hitting the gas and being like, they were a team where it's like, if you told me they, like, dumped Doug McDermott and dumped Keldon Johnson at the deadline for future picks, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. You get off some money. You kind of build for the future. You kind of give yourself more assets to play with because you're probably not going to have a high draft pick for a while. But then I'm like, do I want to trade like two like rotation guys because Victor Wembanyama is already this good and I don't want to like ruin any little thing we have going on here? Like, am I already there? Am I already concerned about that? Right? Like, that is the part to me in terms of, I think two things. I think where I am at is seeing him in person, I think will just unlock things. I think when you actually see guys up close, as good as you can see in the TV, there's nothing like seeing it staring you in the eyes. That was like that. It's like that for me with Luka. It was like that for me with LeBron as a child. It was like that seeing like some of the Curry stuff in person for when you got there.
Jokic is like
and that
as
crowd energy. Like, that's why I pointed to that first, is the crowd can feel how a dude is taking over and how demoralizing it becomes when that player is involved. And
so,
that's kind of, I don't think,
yeah.
I think people will watch their team play Wembanyama on a given night and be like, let's see about this. No, he's going to chew your team up and spit you out. That's what's going to happen this year.
So how did the Phoenix the couple nights he was there and then afterwards like react to him? There's a Kevin Durant thing we're going to talk about with him that I thought was incredibly kind of poignant from KD. But how did like Phoenix as a city, and like this isn't I don't know if this happened in Cleveland sometimes when Luka comes through and Giannis comes through. There are big Greek populations for Giannis and there's a big Slovenian population for Luka. When those guys come through, the crowds have shown out, and it has been like a scene for those guys. Now I'm wondering like what, like it might just be New York, which is like less fun, but I want to know what like the big like city is going to be where there's like a random big like French population. It's just like a bunch of French flags and people in Vic jerseys. You know what I mean? Like that's
yeah.
Like if I
maybe somewhere up north because of if people come from Montreal or something, I could see that.
Yeah, maybe it's Toronto. Yeah,
sure. I think the main thing is those moments you talked about.
It's probably New Orleans. It's probably New Orleans.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think the moments where it really jumped out were the big dunks and the big transition plays and whatever. And I think those are the places where the amount of space that he consumes is unfathomable. A cut from him, a catch, it's like Giannis times 50%. It's like the ways that all those clips used to come out in Giannis's first couple first MVP seasons, where it would be like Giannis took 3 dribbles and got to the basket. I don't know if Vic will have the ball in his hands that way, and that is part of what makes Giannis insane and great in his own right and everything else, and the strength and all that. But it's like that where, I mean, Durant did not box out even a little bit on the putback dunk that he had at the end of the first game, so like maybe that's not the best example, but the Eubanks dunk or the cut that Wembanyama had at the end of the second game where Zach Collins kind of got doubled, and then Vic cut from the free throw line, caught the ball, and it's over. If he has the ball within any amount of distance of the rim, it's done. To point to the highlights of the cleaning the glass page that you talked about, he's missed 4 attempts at the rim this year. He's 18 of 22, 82%. I don't expect that to change. And the Spurs defense is almost 30 points better per 100 possessions when he's been on the court. That's in the 99th percentile.
It's a joke.
And
like a joke number. It's a joke
they
number.
are among the best defenses in the league, I think. And it's just that kind of stuff that I don't think we were necessarily prepared for this guy to do. They're not the best defenses in the league this year, 25th, but I'm sure when he's out there, you're talking about an elite number, and it's just a matter of his minutes. It's closer to Gobert plus Durant than I ever would have thought. That's how it feels watching him when he's at his peak, is that you fused maybe the best defensive player of his generation and one of the most unguardable offensive players of his generation together. That's what I felt like I was watching.
I can't wait to watch him against just there's so many other kinds of guys I want to see him against this year, which I think only adds to this well. Like him versus the Lakers is just like the LeBron part of that is just going to be really interesting. How LeBron talks about him. We'll get to the KD thing here shortly. The Jokic part of it, the Embiid part of it.
To me, Jokic and Embiid are the interesting ones. What does he do against dudes who have like 100 pounds on him?
Yeah, and then on the other side of it, like I'm already kind of now like I want to see Chet against him and I want to see Mobley against him as these young bigs who like just kind of got their lunch eaten as far as like the next young big NBA superstar. And it's like, oh, well, you might like your path to winning a Defensive Player of the Year just got a lot harder, Evan Mobley. Really sorry for that. Jaren Jackson Jr. should be on that list as well. You know, like what happens with those guys and Wemby?
Well, Jaren is a separate conversation.
Yeah, well, the Grizzlies.
For his own reasons.
Yeah.
But
Grizzlies.
I have one question before we get to the Durant thing.
Yeah.
Do you have him in play more after these 5 games for awards and things like that than you thought you might? Is he somebody who might be an all-star? We talked about this with Rookie of the Year, and you seem to think like it's going to be a runaway thing, and I probably agree with you.
The betting markets also think it's going to be a runaway thing. Like it's just kind of over.
Like,
if you,
it probably is. All-star, Defensive Player of the Year. All NBA. Like, how far are you willing to go with it right now? 2 weeks in, 5 games in.
All-Star and getting some Defensive Player of the Year votes. I don't know if he's going to win it right away because like the defense just overall might not be good. But I think the film for him specifically and the numbers for him specifically will really resonate. All-Star is also just, it's hard to make an All-Star team. You know, LeBron did make it as a rookie, right? Like, it's very hard to make it as a rookie. So maybe, like, he doesn't get there, but he's certainly, like, going to be in Indianapolis and running shit in any rookie showcase stuff and put him in all the events that he wants to participate in. You know,
that's a no-brainer. But, yeah, I mean, the whole round numbers might not be there for him because there are going to be nights where he just doesn't make shots.
Yeah, I mean, the Suns game is he could have a better game this year, but that's probably going to be one of the 5 defining Victor Wembanyama moments of this entire season.
I'll let you put that ceiling on there, Chris. I'm not co-signing that one. He did that in Game 5. What is he going to do in Game 75?
Yeah, but there's just look, even if it's smaller ups and downs because of how good he is, there are just going to be peaks and valleys with this. That's just how this works. That is how the universe. Like, it happened with LeBron. It happened with Durant. It happened with, like, all these guys. Like, it just does. Like, the universe will find a way to challenge you in some way. And, like, there will be a way that Victor Wembanyama gets challenged that we haven't seen yet. It's going to happen. Like, it just will. And how he But the thing is, if there's ever been anyone we're sure is just going to smash through that wall, probably him.
Yeah.
Okay, the Durant thing. The last thing we'll hit on with Vic. Durant got asked about if there's Wembanyama, if there's KD in Wembanyama's game. And KD gave this answer that Matt Moore had this first, but I think the sentiment just to me hits it perfectly. He could have taken this and been like, nah, like, he's a rookie, could have shot him down, could have really played it up and, like, taken, I am a guy that has set the template for guys like him. But he really went out of his own way to be like, that's his own man. He's his own basketball player. Maybe he watched me growing up, but he's his own thing. He's his own, kind of just saying, like, he's his own artist in some way, right? For KD to give that answer and give what really felt like a cosign of how talented Victor Wembanyama is this early, and from someone, Brendon, that I think is probably the NBA superstar that loves basketball more than any other superstar that we have in this league. That if there's someone that I just think loves hoops more than anyone, it feels like it's KD. That to me was such a compelling answer from one of the best to ever do it and one of the best players alive.
So the Spurs also had a loss by 40 to the Clippers. That was a sign of what a down will look like, right? We said ups and downs. Up was November 2nd. Down was October 29th against the Clippers. I love that Durant thing, and I think it speaks to the fact that they see him coming, not just as a talent, but as a celebrity, as everything that it means to be an NBA player and an NBA superstar. I think they see that in him too. He had this quote that reminded me of the JJ Redick podcast. I'm talking about Vic now. The JJ Redick pod that he did before the draft. After that Clippers loss, Chris, did you see this? He said, we've got a famous saying in San Antonio. It's pound the rock. It has a deep meaning. How I see it and how I see life, there's always adversity and struggles sometimes, but it's not about how bad the struggles are going to be, but how persistent we're going to be. It's just the beginning of the season. It's just one loss. We're young. We got a long way to go, but we're going to keep pounding the rock. He talked about playing Kawhi and Paul George and then Durant coming up, and he said, they're my idols, but they're still my opponents, so I wouldn't really allow myself to just entertain a relationship with some guys that I'm going to have to play against to fight against someday. Can I move to San Antonio? I'm all in.
Is your wife? I mean, that's not a question for me.
I don't want to live there. I don't want to live there, but this dude is. I mean, I don't know. Like it's every single thing is on the table.
This is one of those moments, and I know you said my decibel level wasn't super high. I try to keep I try to be a very even-keeled person, Brendon, just for my own sanity. This is one of those times that I'm genuinely, and you can, if you're watching on YouTube, you see me smirking now and like thinking every time we've talked about him the last 10 minutes. This is one of those things where I think like you will remember seeing some of this Victor Wembanyama stuff 10 years from now.
Yeah.